So you take the settings of Simple, throw in a surge to the top like ZywOo, and sprinkle on the flashiness of Kenny S. And you get a really solid player. Add to that a playstyle inspired by all three of them, and you get a hot new talent on the rise. We present to you, Degster. What's up, ProGuides fam? I'm Kangas, and today we're taking a look at Degster, who's been straight smurfing in every tournament that he's played in recently. Rumors are he's the next ZywOo, so today we're gonna investigate his case. Let's get into it.
So to start, let's go over who Degster is. He was the 4th highest rated player on HLTV for 2020, only being topped by ZywOo, Simple, and Shiro. Nonetheless, not a lot of people have heard his name, so let's change that today. Degster isn't just some no-name top performer against tier 3 teams. In fact, just over a month ago, he was signed to Team Spirit on loan from his technically current team of Espada. Espada had decided to disband and let contracts from 3 of 5 of their 5 players expire, except for 2, one of which is Dexter. The reason they did this is pretty simple. They figured both of these players are well worth it to continue paying salary even if they don't play any matches or practice, because after all, they'd probably be able to sell them to another team for a lot of money. And honestly, that's pretty much what happened. Dexter and Patsy were put on the transfer list and were both quickly signed to Team Spirit on loan. Unlike Espada, Team Spirit has been a consistent top 20 team and has attended several majors. And guess what? After being signed to Spirit, Degster won his very first debuting tournament as the top performer for the entire thing. I mean, not a lot more you can ask for a guy on his first event on loan, right? So you might be wondering, that's great and all, but what was the event and who was the competition? Well, the event was DreamHack Open, January 2021 Europe, which was essentially your typical DreamHack event. Some top tier teams and some dark horses that are looking to prove themselves. In the case of this event, the top tier teams were mostly big and perhaps less so evil geniuses. But there were also notable teams like the new FPX, Gambit, Fours, and of course Team Spirit themselves. The most interesting team they played, of course, being Big Clan. The team was one of the top 4 teams at the time, but that might even go up considering their recent success in the Blast Spring groups. Luckily for us, the result was very interesting, because honestly, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that Degster was the driving force for Spirit's success against Big, considering he managed to drop a 30 bomb and a monstrous 1.69 rating against them on one of the 2 maps that he played. Degster really showing here that he doesn't drop his performance, even against the better teams. If you look at ZywOo, for example, the last time he played against Big was mid-December, and just like Team Spirit, his team won the series 2-1, and just like Degster, his best map was Nuke. The only difference is that ZywOo didn't drop 30, and he didn't manage to get a 1.69 rating. Nope, instead he only got 29 frags, what a noob, but still had a monstrous rating of 1.57. Jokes aside, you see what I mean, right? They perform pretty damn similarly. That's not the only bit of resemblance though, but we'll cover the rest after our question of the day. Today's question is, how do you feel about seeing more content about the pro scene? We try and do tips and tricks videos, but we love doing these ones as well. Recently we posted a video on Navi's success at the Blast Premier Global Finals, and today we're covering the uprise of Dexter. But do you want to see more videos like this? Let us know in the comments down below. We're always listening to the community. Alright, so back to the video. What else do they have in common? Well, aside from the fact that they're both oppers, have very similar numbers, and are both making a fast rise through the scene, they have one more very important thing in common, and that's that HLTV believes in them. Let me explain that real fast. HLTV has this thing called One for the Future, which is basically a series of articles they have about upcoming young players that are looking very promising. They started the series with somebody that might be pretty familiar to you nowadays, but definitely wasn't at the time, ZywOo. That's right, he was the first person featured in the series. But ZywOo wasn't the only talent that they've scouted. In fact, they got a pretty good track record. After ZywOo came Cirque, the driving force of success behind the team previously mentioned EG, before Energy, and then Sergey, one of the key players that made the Easy for Ents meme exist. Ents may now no longer be that relevant of a team, partly because Sergey left to serve the Finnish military, but Sergey was the number 13 player in 2019. It doesn't end there though. After Sergey, they noticed Poison, the now opper for Complexity, and again a big part of their success. Then came Mayern, who was later picked up by MIBR with mixed results, followed by Jampy, who later played on Ents. Then Shiro, who is by the way again the number 3 performing player for the whole of 2020. And now also Degster, who is consistently showing he's able to do wondrous things even against top tier competition. Basically, no matter what team he's up against, it always looks like he's smurfing, which reminds you a bit of 2 other players, right? Simple and ZywOo. So, how does he do it? Well, simple. He copied Simple settings, and we mean that literally, by the way. Just look at his crosshair, resolution, DPI, even sensitivity. I mean, the guy started watching Simple's demos. He probably even watched a Simple Master Course on our website. And you probably think we're just saying that, but it's actually true. If you look at his Liquipedia, he literally has the same settings as Simple, and in an interview with HLTV, he said his main inspiration was also the Na'Vi Star, with also a bit of Kenny S and later ZywOo. And I think it's very important to mention because that's exactly how he became so good. He watched tons of demos and he analyzed them, both to see what he could learn and to compare it to his own play. Which, by the way, you can also start doing. Personally, I was stuck in a rut until I started reviewing my demos with one of the coaches on the website, and I didn't even know all the things I was doing wrong until it was pointed out to me. Sometimes just playing over and over again and continuing to grind just develops bad habits and you're not actually learning from it. So if you find that you're stuck right now and need somebody to help get you out of that, feel free to visit ProGuides.com and give one of our top-ranked coaches a spin. I'm sure you won't regret it. But anyway, something else that I find very similar to Dexter in terms of ZywOo and Simple is his mindset. He's dedicated to the game, confident, and very hardworking. After Spirit's win of DreamHack, they published a video on Twitter. The whole video is basically just Dexter talking about the tournament win and their plans for the future. It's pretty interesting. The most notable quote that I found though is, "I didn't join this team to relax, but to win Tier 1 tournaments," which is honestly just such a great thing to see a pro player saying after he's just won a tournament. Dexter is very happy with his tournament win together with his new teammates, but he's not gonna celebrate for too long. He wants to be a top team, and he wants to be a top player for himself. Of course, it's not just something that he says either, he means it, which can be proven by his consistent average of 200-hour playtime in the last 2 weeks. 200 hours is a lot more than most pros have in their past 2 weeks, but Dexter claims to put in those hours consistently, and he's gonna keep doing it as well. Funnily enough, Dexter was offered a spot on Spirit before already, but he refused. Spirit then wanted him on the rifle, and Dexter wanted to be the main op. Dexter acknowledged how there's a lot of talent in the CIS region, especially when it comes to oppers. Of course, you got Simple on Na'Vi, who's definitely not getting dropped. I mean, obviously. You got Jamie on Virtus Pro, who's also performing at a very high level, and since VP have essentially been winning every tournament they attend, roster changes don't seem likely either. Fours already has X-Power, which may not be performing as well, but the team is doing pretty good regardless. So again, not a likely roster change. Basically, the competition is pretty fierce, but Dexter says he doesn't mind it. To quote, "I don't want to be offered a slot simply because I want it. I need to be able to contend for that spot." That being said though, even though he might prefer to play in a Russian-speaking team, he doesn't rule out the possibility of an international one. Actually, he stood in for Sprout at ESL Meisterschaft Autumn 2020, which ironically largely took place during winter, January 2021. As you might have guessed, his team won that tournament as well, and days later he got signed on Spirit. During that event, he was the second best performer against alternate attacks and was the best of the whole series against Big, so one could say he carried Sprout to a victory, denying Big yet another tournament they probably would have won. And you're never gonna guess who the top performer for that tournament was. Cressy. See, you didn't guess that. But then again, that wasn't really fair as he only played 2 maps against the team that finished last. The second highest performer though that did play all maps was, you guessed it, Dexter. This guy is a talent. So, as it seems, he's basically won every event that he's played and carried in those events, at least ever since he stopped playing with Espada. The only recent tournament that he hasn't won was IEM Katawa's 2021, where his team placed 3rd, 4th because they were eliminated by Gambit, which ended up winning the whole thing. Losing to Gambit might seem like a bad sign, but honestly, that's literally the only game they lost recently, and it's not that big of a deal. Both maps were close, and before they lost to them, they first demolished Cloud9 in a best of 1, 2-0'd Big yet again, 1-2-1 versus Gamers 2, 2-0'd Heroic, and even 2-1'd Astralis. If you don't think winning against Astralis is impressive, I'd like to point out that they beat them 16-1 in the final map, having a flawless CT side and only losing the T side pistol round. I think to conclude this, we can say that Dexter is definitely a new talent on the rise. He's been performing to a very high level, putting up Simple and ZywOo-esque stats. Against higher level opponents, his stats don't seem to take too much of a hit either, especially as of recent. On Espada, his stats against top level teams are worse, but still good, but honestly, that kinda makes sense. It's a lot harder to perform while you and your teammates are losing miserably, and there's only so much you can expect from one person. Simple, who is undoubtedly a top level player, also struggles to win Tier 1 tournaments, so in that way, Dexter is in a similar position. The biggest thing I think you can learn from Dexter though is that hard work pays off. And in the case of Counter-Strike, hard work is watching demos, videos like this, and especially putting in the hours. Sometimes upwards of 100 a week, just like lunatics such as Dexter do. He helped his team skyrocket from rank 20 to rank 8 in the entire world. And if you ask me, they're only gonna climb in the near future. Perhaps this is the first time you've heard of him, but it definitely won't be the last. At least, I hope it's not. Dexter has a bright future ahead of him, and perhaps we might just see him in HLTV Top 20 for 2021. If no one else, at least I'm looking forward to it.
So what do you think? Is Dexter the next ZywOo? Is he going to compete with the likes of Simple? You certainly got the right settings for it, but make sure to give us your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like and subscribe to help this channel grow. We got so much more content coming out that I cannot wait to show you. With that said, wish you the best of luck grinding, everybody, and have a wonderful day.